Hello and welcome to another episode of Growing Up B2B. I'm your host, Ed Delia, the second generation president of Delia Associates, the place where B2B brands go to grow. Today, we're joined by Kyle Cederberg and Andrew Larson, fifth generation family members at Larson Tool Stamping Company, a trusted name in deep draw metal stamping and complex formed parts for over 100 years. Kyle and Andrew are cousins carrying forward a proud manufacturing legacy. Their fathers, Charles Cederberg, who's the president, and Bill Larson, the CFO, are still active in the company, making this a true multi-generational operation in motion. Kyle, Andrew, welcome to Growing Up B2B. Great to have you.
Thanks for having us, Ed.
Yes, thank you for having us.
All right. Hey, to give a quick overview, give us a little bit of perspective. What does Larson Tool make, and what are the types of companies that you serve?
Yeah, so primarily we do a lot of deep draw, like you brought up in your introduction. That's one of our bread and butter, our expertise, but we also serve a variety of heavy stamping, anybody in the industrial area that needs metal stamped parts. We have progressive tools. We have some samples of stuff we can show you, but
yeah,
we have some deep draw components ranging in sizes. So this is all our capabilities. Our sales guy likes to say anything bigger than a nickel we can do for you stamping. So we don't get into the smaller stuff, but.
And how big is big? So you showed a cylinder that was probably maybe 4 to 6 inches in diameter, but how big is big in terms of size?
18 inches.
So our 30-pound shell is, I think, just around 18 inches, 20 inches deep.
Okay.
And then that's a diameter of probably 6.5, 7.
Okay.
But we can go much bigger than that. We're actually currently working with a company right now, and we're drawing these, I call them just massive bowls. Those are probably a good 13 inches across.
Okay. So that's a good sized piece of metal. Okay,
yeah.
Cool. If you could just share, what are some of the use cases for some of your parts? Where do they end up?
A lot of industrial components. So we sell to the manufacturer that is then probably selling to the end consumer. So It could be industrial grinders. We sell components that get put into that. We've done some work with the exhaust systems on automobiles before, water tanks, a lot of pressurized vessels being part of the deep draw.
Okay. And any industry concentrations, or do you work across many industries?
No, we're more of a job shop. So if anybody comes to us with a tool that they need, if it's in our capabilities, we'll help them.
Okay. So as I'm sure you can surmise, being part of a fifth generation is rare. You don't see that too often. I'll ask Kyle first. What was it like growing up around this company with Larson Tool being in the family DNA, if you will?
I guess you can say, even though I've only really worked here for 5 years, I've been really employed for 30, and which is how old I am, because it's basically, you're involved with it from day one, because Andrew and I both growing up in this company, we always had like company Christmas parties. So as a kid, you came to that. So it's like you work with everyone, and we both grew up locally in the area. So even outside of work, a lot of people that worked at our company or currently work in our company, we've met outside of work or spent time with them outside of work, whether it's through like church or just community service or just in the town, bump into someone in the grocery store. And then the amount of times I have been dragged in here on a weekend to do a project throughout my life is very high. Always keeping busy and working at Larson Tool, no matter, I guess, even when I wasn't truly employed.
That's the nature of a family business, isn't it? It becomes part of the family.
Yes, exactly.
So, Andrew, if you look back, what was like your first memory of your first acknowledgement of, hey, there's this company called Larson Tool out there? Like, take us back. When was your first kind of acknowledgement that my family's involved with this company that does something?
Yeah, I think for me, it was around kindergarten, getting out of school, and then mom bringing me over to see dad, and then grandpa's down the hall. And I know they're working and doing something. To me, it's just where they go all day. But then as you grow up, okay, this is what dad is doing, and then starts becoming that summer job. But yeah, it all really just starts with getting introduced to it as a kid and knowing that's where everybody goes throughout the day.
Yeah, sounds familiar. Some would say eerily familiar, but familiar. I'll ask each of you, how did you come to that decision that, okay, I want to do this. I want this to be my life's work. I want to join the family business. Was there a crossroads, or was it expected? Give me some perspective on that. And maybe we'll start with Kyle.
Yeah, so I guess my family was always very encouraging of, there's an opportunity for you here whenever you're ready for it and if you want it. But they were never very pushy. It wasn't like, this is what you have to do. You have to join this. And when I got on board, it was like perfect timing. Through across all the generations, we've always been very adamant that if you graduate college or even high school, that you can't just get hired right away. You have to go work in the industry, go do something else, because it's always good to get exposure to how other companies run and bring in those ideas and understand other environments too, to when you come join Larson Tool. And so after college, I worked for a different company. And then when COVID happened, it was this perfect timing where my job became extremely slow. I really had nothing to do, waiting in that unknown period in early COVID of what was the next day going to be like, what could you do? And then there was an opening here for an opportunity for me. And so my dad approached me with saying, hey, we have this opportunity for you. I think you'd be a good fit. And I think it's be a good start for you to grow in the company. And through all the generations, it is not, you do not get hired into, oh, you're going to be the manager of this position and you're going to run this company. You'll start, both Andrew and I have worked packing parts and shipping, have ran a lot of the assembly machines and equipment. We've stood next to our furnace where we do brazing. That's thousands of degrees all summer long. So you do have to earn your right into, even though we're family, you still have to earn your right and earn your position. So that's how I got started.
Understood. And Andrew, how about you? How did you face that crossroads when it was, do I come into the company? Do I go another way? Talk about that journey for yourself.
Yeah, so I think sometime, it was probably in high school, I decided I wanted to make this a long-term career at some point. Just picking a college path that brought me through the financial world, did a career outside of financial services before Larson Tool. But then, yeah, same thing. We had an outgoing production manager who was retiring. And then that was an opportunity that my dad and uncle saw to say, I've just been working at this company for a little bit. Maybe it's time to see if he would be a good fit in this role. Based on, like Kyle said, we've done some work in the production areas over the summers beforehand. I've worked with some of those guys before. So it was a good opportunity to bring me in and start watching how the floor operates and really learn that side from the managerial point, but then also watch my dad and uncle as they do the business side of things. Just make sure you're learning both sides.
So prior to coming in, you did a stint in, you said financial services?
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
so we were doing like college prep plans, 401ks and all that. So financial planning was more my background before Larson.
Okay. Is there crossover to a deep draw manufacturer? Have you found some ways to bring some of that learning into play?
More the people side, I would say. I think more people numbers, and I leave the technology to Kyle and his engineering.
Okay.
I chose to divide and conquer for very specific reasons. So.
And when you first, and I'll ask Kyle, when you first kind of landed there, let's say, what did that feel like? If I'm going to take you back a few years, was there ever a, oh my God, what did I do moment? Or were you feeling pretty good once you settled in? Was it like a good feeling, or was there any trepidation or anything like that?
No, I would say it was a good feeling. I felt ready. I was excited for the opportunity to get more involved. And I think it was what was, to like Andrew's point, like they all know us, everyone who's worked here. And I've met some of them in the past, but I didn't know all of them. But it was funny, my first day starting here, everyone came in and shook my hands like, oh, it's so good to see you again. And I had to stare them blankly. I'm like, uh-oh, I don't know if I remember their names. Because everyone knew who I was. And I didn't know who all they were. But yeah, I was definitely excited for the opportunity. And it was funny. I think it was like 5 days in, it was my first week. And like my dad came and saw me on a Friday. And he was just asking me, how's your first week going? How do you feel? And then looked at me and he was just like, just to remind you, your butt's going to keep a seat warm here for 40 years. Take everything one day at a time. And I'm like, oh, great. That's a great way to think. I want to think of the next 40 years. I'm just trying to get week by week, day by day. And now I'm in this bigger picture thing.
It brings me back to, I think it was my first month where I turned down a job to go into the family business because that wasn't going to be my path. And I'm looking at my first P&L. And I'm actually in the car with my dad and we're going to a meeting. And he said, here, take a look at this. This is it was like the July numbers or something. And I'm looking at it and I see it go to the end. I said, Dad, why is this number in this column in parentheses? He said, that's because we lost money in July. And then I said, this other number over here next to it, that's a bigger number in parentheses. He goes, yeah, we've been losing money all year. I'm like, oh, thanks. What have I gotten myself into?
Oh, boy.
That didn't come up when we had the heart-to-heart about coming into the business.
No, that was your first assignment.
Yeah.
It's out of the roots. So.
And it more or less was, okay, and we're going to figure out how do we get back to profitability this year. So that was an interesting start. When you first got involved, let's talk a little bit about, and even now, so your dads are both very active in the business still.
Yes.
How do that kind of relationship dynamic, how does that play out? So it's the four of you, you're all involved. How do you interact from a relationship standpoint with them? Like when you're talking to them, is it fluid? For instance, if you're all sitting down at a family gathering, is business brought up or is it not touched, or and vice versa? If you're talking about doing something socially with the family on the manufacturing floor, how do you draw the lines if you do, or how does it work in your family dynamic?
Yeah, I think ideally we try to keep everything here just because the four of us do have lives outside of work.
Mm-hmm.
But conversations after work have to happen depending on what's going on in the day. But it is nice working with family because you can catch up on what's going on in everybody's life during the course of a business day. But we certainly don't want to try to have that be the only thing we talk about, because then you lose that relationship of, oh, are you more my coworker than a cousin kind of a thing. So,
Yeah. So, excuse me, Kyle, if you were at a family gathering, would it be inappropriate then for a business topic to come up, or does that happen, or does that not happen?
That happens all the time.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of stuff. There's always things going on here. And we have plenty of times, even on a weekend, like we'll be doing like a construction project or something going on at work. So even sometimes if we're spending time together on a weekend, it may come up just because someone wants an update on, did you get a status report, or did you get a call from somebody, just checking in on things.
Okay.
We definitely do try to keep this fine line balance, but I think it's fluid throughout the day, because there's plenty of times, even at work, where we'll be sitting in a room together and we may not be even talking business. We'll be just talking about, what are you doing this weekend? And how was your vacation? And how's the grandkids? How's your kids? And so it's nice because you're always doing the best of both worlds. And it's a good, healthy reminder throughout the day that no matter what's going on at work and the struggles or what happens is, there's other things going on in life that are good or that are more important.
So now let's talk about the two of you for a minute. Are your roles such that the two of you will interact during the day typically, or are you in different channels or departments of the company? Like how does that look?
No, there's near constant communication.
Okay.
Kyle, but he runs our quality group right now, and I run the production group. So anytime there's
okay.
issue, I have
so you're working fairly closely together then.
Oh
yeah. There's a little, we have definitely conflicts of interest because I'm trying to hold to a quality standard and Andrew's trying to get product out the door. And
so the relationship is tested on like a daily basis then.
Not so much the relationship, more just what are we getting at? But I think the back and forth is good because you need somebody supporting the quality side, supporting the production side, but eventually we're all working for the same goal at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Okay.
And even though it's a family business, we're still a company of 70 employees. So it's never really relying on, both of us have to really hash this out and make a decision. There's a bunch of other input coming from other people. So it's not just us in a room figuring it out all the time, which is nice. So at least we have other voices, or people can say, you almost put up to a vote a little bit where you try to figure things out.
Was it safe to assume that growing up, the two of you were fairly close to begin with? When you were growing up, like you guys saw a lot of each other and so forth, and were together a decent amount as cousins? Yeah. So you were already building on a good relationship, if you will, and just now it's a business relationship too. Okay.
Yeah. We definitely see each other a lot more than we used to.
Yeah. Okay. I get it. So if there does come a scenario where, given the two roles you have in the company, where you're not aligned, where there is something that's not aligning, how do the two of you go about communicating, having the tough conversations? Something's wrong and we got to address it. What's your approach?
I think we just make sure that we have a conversation between the two of us first, because we need to, if we're not aligned, we do need to get aligned. And whether it's talking about, is there a compromise? Is one of us wrong? Is something really best for the business? Something's not. Then we have an opinion. We get our dad's input of that because, they've been here so long, they have the experience to weigh that out. Because we don't want to try to push something if all of a sudden Andrew has this agenda, but Kyle's over. I don't know if it's the best idea.
Okay.
We decide is best is what we need to really push and support.
So if it's some good upfront communication just to kind of test alignment, and then you walk it out from there. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I can't remember a single time where we've ever been in such a disagreement on something where we couldn't figure out the path to go forward. It's never been in that case. We may have different ways we want to approach it, or maybe like how extreme do you want to go and where's the line? Maybe that's more what we're just trying to finalize and then we come to an agreement on. But we've never been in such polar opposites where we've walked out of the meeting like, I don't know what the next steps are because I don't want to do this and he doesn't want to do that. It's never, it never works out like that. So
I got it. So thinking about your dads and so they were fourth generation. Was third generation around when you guys were growing up? Grandfather? And
I think our grandfathers retired before we were in the business by a long whatnot. But we knew them while they were working at Larson Tool. They still come back for board meetings, and even just popping by and seeing how things are going. My grandfather will swing by if he needs somebody in maintenance to work on a tractor part. It's good, and everybody still recognizes them, asks about them. To Kyle's point, everybody wants to really be involved in building those relationships.
So is there an anecdotal story or kind of a core value that your granddads may have held to that you see as reflective today that influenced the two of you? So Kyle, maybe starting with you, was there something, that your grandfather did or said or that resonated that you're like, okay, that's a good one. I'm going to hang my hat on that one. I'm going to carry that one forward.
Yeah, I don't know if there's like a particular phrase, but I think throughout our history, we've always been very particular about making sure the people that work here at Larson Tool are taken care of, because if we take care of them, they're going to take care of us. And so having that relationship and getting to know the people you work with and spend time with every day is definitely a value that we've carried throughout the years and through different generations. I remember we had just celebrated our 100th year, I guess 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
And we had a big celebration. We had a big company outing where it was a lot of all our employees, all their family, grandparents, anyone that was related to them. We just had this big open invite because we wanted to celebrate all our years of history together. And I remember my grandfather being there, and he was very adamant. He was just like, you got to make sure you know every single one of these people. You should know their wives. You should know their kids. You should be friends with all of them, because those are the people that will stick with you no matter what, because they're going to care about you from a personal level, never mind just like a business level. And so
that's great advice. Wow. And Andrew, how about you? How about your grandfather?
Yeah, I think more to the point where Kyle's saying keep care of the people. Hearing stories of my grandfather now, he was hard on me back in the day, but it made me better as a person. And watching where he's coming from, probably from the management side of, he might have been tough on the people, but it was because he was following a process to keep them safe, to keep them employed, to keep things going. So that's looking at it as, yes, we're a family-run company, so it's nice to be able to do the fun stuff when we can, but there is also that line that you still have to be responsible for the fact that there's 70 people that are reliant on us and our management team to have a career, have a job.
Yeah.
So trying to balance that line.
Understood. Said. So now that the two of you are on the scene, if you will, talk about something that maybe you had, either one of you have introduced something more of a new idea, a new process, new approach that might represent a little bit of a next generation thinking or next generation mindset.
Yeah, I think probably the biggest thing that's coming from Andrew and myself is we grew up in the technology era. So like our understanding of computers and systems we grew up in it. So we just have a good background in it. And so I think looking at those systems of data collection, reporting, data processing, things like that, just being very efficient from even like a higher level, not even on the manufacturing side, just on running a business, just from how do you manage the office? How do you manage the books? How do you manage orders? And so looking at that, we've introduced new technology out on the floor for time tracking, for equipment efficiencies, and just managing all that data. And then just, working towards a more digital era and just trying to be as fast and efficient as possible while keeping the accuracy that we need. And a lot of that data is really helpful because if the machine's telling you what it's doing, it's much more reliant than the person telling you, though, this is what happened. The machine told me it stopped an hour ago, and you're telling me it stopped 5 minutes ago. So what's the real story here? Not trying to have a lot of gotcha moments to our employees here, but just understanding of this is ways you can figure out what is your problems, what is your pain points, and then isolating those and then trying to figure out, okay, what can I do to improve, to make it better? Sort of this new technology is just driving, okay, what's the next innovation? Because now we can clearly see, oh, these are where we're falling short on, or these are
Got it.
Word.
Yeah, no, and some of our process owners and managers know that the way they've been doing it for 10 to 20 years, yes, it's gotten us this far. They even maybe have dreams of doing it a better way, but just like Kyle said, the technology comfort-wise might not be there. We're happy to help support what they want to push in their own departments, or if they know they want to look into something, but maybe they're not the ones that are going to be the best at actually implementing the tech, will certainly help with that aspect. So
that's cool. And it sounds like there's a receptiveness among leadership to embrace new ways of doing, new technologies. Has AI showed up in your industry in any material way? Are you seeing that? Are you looking at that, exploring that in any of the work that you're doing as of yet?
I don't think you can avoid it. It seems like everywhere you go, somehow there's an AI assistant. But I would say for our day-to-day, not so much. I'll use it every now and again to help. Oh, if I want to word an email a certain way or have a quick overview, but it only can go you so far. It gets you to a starting point, and then you're still working on it. And I write a lot of code for stuff, so I may use it for that standpoint.
Yeah.
But overall, like from a true manufacturing of what we do are really our core products. There hasn't really been anything for AI.
Okay. I find that ChatGPT is a very agreeable app. And like whenever I'm like angry with somebody and I'll write the letter, make this less angry. And it's sure, I'll make it happy. And great, perfect.
Yeah, perfect example, right? Can you make this sound more formal than how I'm putting it? So I write like an engineer. I just write in bullet points. I'm like, can you make this like a real? Yeah. Can you like make this like an email and not just be like, here's what I want to address and here's my 5 bullet points.
Make me sound like I don't want to kill this person.
That would I haven't been that aggressive yet. I'll show up in our search history, so we get caught.
So getting down to the work you do there, so deep draw stamping, and for the size and scope that you do, it's very complex, yet a competitive space. How does Larson Tool communicate its distinctive value to customers? What's your like unique value position? How do you distinguish yourself from others?
I think we try to just advertise that we'll grow with a customer. So when we have our sales guy out at a trade show and he has the shelves that are huge that kind of catch people's eye, they ask, how do you do that efficiently or cost effectively? And it maybe wasn't back in 1970, but over the technology improvements, the reinvesting, the new equipment, and now we have ways to do that. So it's not just, it doesn't have to be a 3-person operation anymore. It can be even some of the deep draw, the smaller stuff we were showing you earlier. This can be a progressive tool. So, there's an upfront cost for that on the customer side, but it gives you a better piece price. So just showing the capabilities of whether it's investing in a tool or the equipment itself. We've done that before with other customers, so we can try to walk you through that process.
Do you get many customers that do walkthroughs? Do they come and see the facility?
Yeah, no, that's probably some of our favorite days, being able to show off on the floor. A lot of the guys take pride in making sure everything looks right, and they can explain either how they're doing their quality checks or how their piece of equipment runs. We walk them through the tool room. Over the last couple of years, that group's been putting a lot of effort into redesigning that space, from process efficiency to just showing really well. It seems like every year they're getting a new CNC piece of equipment that they have to make space for. So that's always a fun part of the tour. Is this used to be the new piece of equipment, but now 3 years later, it's a third oldness because this is the new one. So
yeah, I have a client who, like, every time I seem to stop by, there's a new CNC on the floor. I'm like, you're running out of floor, man.
That's definitely our biggest battle, is just the battling floor space and figuring out, I got to put this in here, what has to move or what has to go. And no one wants to give up their floor space.
But I'm guessing that the facility represents rather impressively for a prospect that might be evaluating doing a component or a project with Larson Tool. It sounds like it represents pretty well when they walk through and they're hopefully hooked by the time they get done with that tour.
Yeah.
No, I think a lot of people have said, let's pat ourselves, but it looks so small from the outside. I can't believe you packed this much stuff in there. So that's how we make use of our space.
Along that line, what are some ways that Larson goes about building visibility and getting the word out about these unique capabilities and somewhat specialized capabilities?
I think a little while ago, one of our sales engineers wrote a white paper on just deep draw techniques, where to go for information. That was well received by a lot of people, and we're a member of PMA, which is the Precision Metal Forming Association. We do a lot of communicating with them. And then out of that, our sales manager now has started writing blogs every month or every couple of months, whether it's what are we doing new in the facility, where is the material market, how do outside factors affect what's going on in the world, how can we help navigate that. So signing up for that blog list gets you all of his announcements, and just to keep what are we thinking of that we're trying to help get people ahead of. So
yeah. That's terrific.
And then we also go to a series of trade shows. So design to part, we'll go to a lot of design to part shows. Yep. And then just other trade shows related to our field. We'll have a booth set up to show off the products we make. And then just kind of, a lot of times, most people stop at our booths because they walk by and they see something. And it's, I'm looking for someone that can do this, or this looks very similar to a part we make, or I'm looking for someone to make. So.
Do you find that on the buyer side, do they understand the full scope capabilities of Larson and the deep draw process, or is there often an education that needs to be had there, or some level of education? They may understand foundationally what deep draw manufacturing is, but maybe not all the things that you can do with that process. Or are they a fairly informed buyer that you're dealing with?
It depends on the situation. One that stands out is somebody, like Kyle said, walked by, saw a part that they looked at what they needed, and they said, oh, you must be able to do this one part. But then through talking and looking at other parts on the table that they missed early on, our sales manager was able to show, oh, now you need something water jetted and CNC. And if this is a whole assembly, we can try to do all of those parts for you, not just this one piece that you saw. So it went from, I came here specifically to look for this part, but it looks like you could do 3 or 4 other things that I'm also doing in the facility right now.
That's awesome. That makes you much more valuable to that relationship, I would think. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think with a lot of our deep draw products, when we advertise them, we talk a lot about how we're taking coils of material and then we pack them off the press. So there is no material handling where you're doing your blanks or your first draw, you're moving it to a separate piece of equipment, and then you're drawing it again, then you're moving it to a separate piece of equipment, and you're drawing it again. We design a lot of our tooling or our equipment in order to make it as automated as possible.
Okay.
As long as the volume's there and it makes sense, there's a lot of people who are getting deep drawn parts where they're doing it step by step. There's added cost to that with labor, material handling.
Yeah.
We could take parts right out the press and pack them right away and ship them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I imagine that would make somebody in the quality department happy too, because it sounds like you probably can hold tolerance a lot better that way than moving things to different pieces of equipment.
Yeah. And it's also a lot less to inspect because I don't have 15 first pieces that are like, oh, here's operation 1, 2, 3. And it's just, here's the part. And I'm like, thank you. I do the inspection and then move on.
Cool. So let's be introspective for a moment. Talking about the culture, how might you define the culture of the team, the people that work at Larson today, and what do you do to maintain some of those culture or value standards as you continue to grow and evolve as an organization?
I think we're very fortunate with the longevity we have. Us coming in, we're the rookies, even with 5 years under our belts now by extreme lengths on 30, 40, even somebody in our tool room, 55 plus years. So we have that to learn from. We have the relationships that people have been building. So I think a lot of it, even outside of the company, but with our vendors and our customers, making sure that it's not just, oh, here's the purchasing agent, here's the customer service. It's Ed and Kyle talking, doing that relationship, because we are small enough to be able to know, everybody should know everybody's name, everybody should be talking throughout the course of the day. And balancing to run a successful company, yes, we have to follow processes and we have our procedures, but we also need to make sure that we remember we came from a small family-run company.
So taking a page from Grandpa and saying, hey, know everybody's name, know where they come from, about their families, and do that very broadly and consistently.
Yes.
I like that. That's great. Looking back now to the here and now, what are some either industries or applications in terms of what you're working on that are really exciting you? Like that, hey, this is pretty cool, or this is coming. What are you seeing on either in the near term on the horizon, or maybe something that you're working on right now that's pretty cool?
Yeah, so we're really focused on growing our machining capabilities. So we usually just make machine parts for the tools that we were building, either for ourselves or for customers. And now we're machining out parts to sell. So we've been really trying to grow our CNC department, and we've been working with Inconel, which is a very hard material to machine with because it's just a hard material. It's very heat resistant. And so we've been working a lot in that space, which has been really exciting. So just trying to grow and get our footing into a new industry, because there's a lot of CNC houses out there. And so we've always had the expertise because we've been running CNC equipment for years. We've just never used it to make and sell directly off of it. We were just always using it to build a tool. Okay. So now we're like, all right, let's sell our tool room. And we've seen a lot in the industry where tooling and die making there's definitely a generation that's aging out, and there's not a new generation coming in. And so we've gotten a lot of quotes or reaching out because a lot of people's tool shops, or where they used to buy tool and dies from, are closing or just don't have the expertise anymore. And so we have been trying to grow that capability and really try to strengthen the employees, our knowledge base, and our equipment to make it much more of a selling point rather than just, we're building tools internally and then maintaining those tools, and our selling points, the products that come out of those tools. So it's just another form of business now that we're really just trying to drive.
That's cool. And I think I've heard that sentiment echoed across the industry, that places are just flat out sometimes closing their doors. They might have been a small operation and just they're retiring, aging out, selling off either the customer list or the equipment and calling it. And you're right. There's definitely a bit of a gap there, or a lag, I should say, in terms of that generation that's maybe filling those shoes. In some cases, those shoes are left empty. And there's definitely a need to support some of that work. I think you're definitely leaning into a category that could represent some good sustainable growth for Larson and more round out your capability to service customers. So that sounds really good. Cool. Think about a recent maybe project or something that you've done recently that really flexes Larson's capabilities, something that you've done recently. If you can talk about it, I don't know if you can, but
Yeah.
I'm sure some of the stuff is confidential, but it's something that really showcases hey, here's what we can do, and really kind of showcases the unique capabilities you have.
Yeah, when we talk about growing with customers, we've had some of these pieces of equipment that have been with customers for 20 years that we're running in-house. So over time, controls and wiring and everything degrades or it gets better with technology. So rather than have to call in the group that made the press for us to come and rewire it, recontrol it, between our engineering group, our electrical group, hydraulic teams, and just general maintenance and safety, we were able to identify a scope of the project that really took the controls from not hanging on by a thread, but definitely giving us more headaches than we needed to, okay, this is the best it's been in 5 or 10 years, but now let's go do that to another line. That support that our engineering group, our maintenance team works together with, they're able to help us keep all the equipment running, and then everybody else that supports just the operation there.
Cool. Okay. So if you were to give, and I'll ask you both this question, we'll start with Kyle. If there's a listener out there and they're at the crossroads, they're young, they're maybe in their 20s, early 20s, maybe young 30s, and they're thinking about, gosh, there's this family business out there. Do I join? Do I not join? How do I make that decision? What's a piece of advice you might give them, a young person that's thinking about entering into the family business?
Yeah, I think I can understand when joining a family business, there's always this intimidation factor. There's these big shoes to fill. There's this outside pressure because no matter whether you're at work or at home, there's a little bit of a pressure of, oh, I'm growing with this company, or there's an expectation of that person or me to exceed or do something. But I think the other way to look at it is that you're working with people that have years of experience, because usually in a family business, you're joining on with someone who's been in the company for a very long time, and they're able to teach you everything they know. So you're going to learn everything that they had to learn by going through it, and you're going to have that knowledge base. And then you're going to come in with your own knowledge or viewpoints or expertise, and then you're going to build on top of that. And then generation after generation, that's what you get. And so you get to skip a lot of the growing pains that a lot of people go through, and then take that information, utilize it, and then bring in your own, and then build on that.
Nice. Andrew, how would you follow that up?
Yeah, I would say if you do make that decision to go to a family business, there are those shoes that you want to fill, but make sure that you come in ready to learn rather than thinking, oh, I'm already an expert at this because my dad's been doing it for so many years, my grandfather beforehand and back. I'm not an expert tool setter. I'm not expert at maintenance, forklift driving, HR, payroll. I'm trying to do the best I can to support everybody else that supports all of their coworkers. You need to come in humble, but learn what role you're going to fill that kind of supports the overall goal of the business, and don't look at it as how can we make the best situation for Andrew and Kyle right now.
Nice. When you look to the future now, the two of you are now involved in the business for a number of years. If you can, how much you see the next chapter of Larson unfolding and how we kind of balance honoring the tradition as fifth generation, but also driving innovation and bringing Larson and introducing it to that next generation of customers. So when you look to the future, what do you guys see?
I think for keeping the tradition is we've been established for 105 years. And so we have very well established procedures that have clearly been effective. It's why we've been around for so long. It's why we can keep growing and keep doing the things that we're doing. And if you look at our history of some of the customers we've had since the 1960s, since the 1950s, and we've kept those customers. So clearly we're doing something right. So honoring that tradition of keeping that level of quality and expertise and is going to be really important. But then bringing the innovation on top of that is the reinvestment into the company. The one thing that's good about being a family company and being private is that there is the lights are turning off.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. The motion sensor didn't see us move for long enough. So
that's funny.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Yeah, being able to reinvest in the company, as we always have weekly capital project meetings, and we're talking about, okay, where are the innovations that we need to drive, whether it's new equipment, whether it's changing the procedures, whether it's building and sustainability of our facility, and like looking at just building repairs and just ease of access and procedures. We're always just trying to drive that change. And I think really important is being involved in the day-to-day, because if I'm out on the floor working on something, I can understand from our coworkers' perspectives on what they're experiencing, the hardships, what's easy, what's annoying, what breaks, what works, what doesn't. I can see that. And then I can try to drive that change from there.
Nice. Andrew, how would you follow that one up? When you look to the future, what do you see?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of just picking the parts of us that have worked really well and identifying areas that, whether it's older equipment that we can replace or consolidate, if it is procedures that have worked but maybe don't always apply to a specific customer or something like that, whatever we can do to make people's lives easier. Manufacturing it's a difficult environment, so everybody that does it day in and a day out, and even supporting the manufacturing between getting material here, talking to customers, there's a lot that goes into it. Trying to make that as pleasant as you can. I always say to people, like, I don't want you to hate coming to work. I recognize that it is work, but it doesn't have to be an awful thing in your life.
Well, I hope not.
No, exactly.
I often, when I have somebody that's coming in and asking me, a young person, about picking a career path, whether family business or not, I say a good indicator is once you land is, so I know that when I first came here and I was at the crossroads and I had to turn down a job to come here. And I felt like I looked up and a year had passed. And I'm like, where did that go? And I realized I was so engaged and immersed in learning and doing, as you guys were when you first landed, most likely, that I think when you see that time literally flies,
Oh, yeah.
you're probably in a good place.
Oh, yeah.
You're probably in a good place. Because if you're looking at the darn clock and saying, all right, it's 4:45, 15 more minutes and I'm out of here, that's not a good sign. Not in a family business at any rate.
As Kyle said, you kind of look at it down the road of hopefully this is something we're doing for the next 40 years. So you do, before you get into the family business, you need to decide that I actually do enjoy manufacturing. I like the process of it. We have people in our family that have completely different career paths, and that was also accepted by the family because it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
You do have to enjoy what you do. You don't have to think just because mom or dad told me to do this, I have to do it. But there are definitely tough situations out there for people to choose between.
Yeah, especially when we were talking, I think earlier you said something about, working on like a construction project at the facility on the weekend. That's family business. That's how you sometimes spend that weekend time.
Oh, yeah.
Business doesn't always honor that Saturday, Sunday block. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't. I get it. One more question when we wrap up. So there's been obviously a lot of talk, a lot of movement around reshoring. On the basis of the work you're doing there, are you seeing that impact Larson? Are you seeing things that maybe were being sourced outside of this country coming back, and maybe some of those initiatives landing at your facility?
Yeah, it's definitely a topic that we hear from every trade show when our sales group meets, whether it's something went overseas and either needs to come back because of pricing or kind of what we were saying earlier, different suppliers, or it's becoming more of a niche market sometimes. They don't want to have to go overseas, especially now with tariffs playing a role. Material seems to be in flux every other week. So having things that are closer to home, and even sometimes they used to get this from California. I don't want to have it driven all across the country if I can get it closer. But certainly the world market right now has us and our suppliers. We're meeting with them regularly just to see what can we tell our customers to reassure them, and what are you reassuring us on material supply and pricing.
I think influx is a good word to define this era we're in. We're definitely in flux.
Driving people to look and weigh options and just see what else is out there for sure.
Yeah. Hopefully that spells some new opportunities for Larson in the near term.
In 6 months when we know how the future works out.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. We'll do a circle back. We'll do a circle back on this interview a year from now and see.
Yeah, updated notes, show notes at the bottom.
And I want to see like how much new gray hair formed in both of your heads between now and then, right?
There's a reason I'm wearing a hat. So
my wife is telling me that, that's not blonde hair anymore. That's white. So.
You still have your hair.
Last question before we wrap. If somebody wanted to learn more about Larson Tool or connect with either of you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Yeah, so the best way is definitely our website, so larsontool.com. You can sign up for our newsletter where you'll get information every time we put out a blog post, or you can reach out on LinkedIn, or you can email out to our sales team. And all the contact information out there is on our website.
Awesome. Great. Kyle, Andrew, thank you so much for sharing your perspectives, your expertise, and continuing the legacy at Larson Tool with vision, energy, and teamwork. So again, listeners, we've been speaking with Kyle Cederberg and Andrew Larson, fifth generation leaders at Larson Tool, a trusted partner in metal forming for over a century. And I'm your host, Ed Delia, and this is Growing Up B2B. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Guys, thanks so much for being here.
Have a good one, Ed. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
You as well.
Hey, thanks so much for tuning into Growing Up B2B. To explore more episodes and insights, visit podcast.delianet.com. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please give us a rating or review on your podcast platform of choice. Having worked with hundreds of family-led businesses across my career, and being a second-generation leader myself, I'm on a mission to help every family business I meet achieve next-level growth for their organization. So feel free also to connect with me on LinkedIn and let's support each other. You can also find out more about my company at delianet.com. Again, I'm your host, Ed Delia, and thanks so much for joining us today. Take care.